Great. Well, Digital Asset News, my name is Rob, and today we got a lot of things to go over. But fortunately, it's a lot of good stuff. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what I call the good news. Voyager and Celsius. Looks like Voyager is going to be bought up by FTX, and Celsius, Alex Masinsky, is going to step down. I got to tell you, I think those are two great news stories. We're going to cover them in depth. Also, we'll talk about some more good news. Robinhood, the app itself, as they're going to start to offer free swaps, and the first one to be offered is going to be Polygon. And then, of course, we have to balance everything out with, if we're going to talk about good news, let's talk about the macro and some bad news. IRS crackdown, macro events, Nord Stream pipeline sabotage, Goldman Sachs layoffs, and Congress, surprise, remains corrupt. And then lastly, I just want to go over WW3D and Q&A. And I'll talk about those in a second. So first things first, let's, before we get to the good news, which I think is great, I'm very happy about this today. There's just one thing I wanted to say. I've been absent for the last 3 days or so, but the last video we put out was, it was all about, the title was why and when I'm selling 80% of all my crypto. And it's pretty well received, about 75,000 views, very nice, very positive. I was very happy about that. And we just went over the things that I talk about of when I will be selling. We went into detail about the Pi Cycle Top, MVRV scores, and UPL and things like that, which will be in the future. And of course, most 95% of people got that. They understand that I'm not selling tomorrow or today because that would be kind of silly as we're in this bear market. But it never astounds. It never surprises me the amount of thumbnail investors that are out there. They see a title or they see a thumbnail and they're like, oh, this guy's selling, what a noob. And I got to tell you, I'm thankful for the people that come into the live stream, because usually when you're in the live stream, you're pretty interactive with me and we're talking about a lot of things. You're not a tourist. You kind of get what's going on, and I appreciate you guys tremendously. So thank you for just showing up. But like these are the ones I got. And like Dylan says, you're going to lose out on the biggest bull run ever. And it's too late to sell now, buddy. You should have sold 9 months ago. Should have done this last year. And then, of course, Stefan says it right. Thanks for bringing a down-to-earth approach. Thanks for telling the real story. Yes. So it's always amazing to me, like, just how many thumbnail investors out there. I got to tell you, there's a lot of downside to just looking at a thumbnail and a title going, you know what? That's my investment strategy. Anyhow, just want to go over that real quick. Here's the good news, folks. FTX pays $1.4 billion to get Voyager's crypto and customers. And I'm sure everybody has covered this today in the YouTube land, but it's important that we talk about it, I feel, because I think it's big news. I think it's big news, and it's a step in the right direction, because who knows, this could have corrupted or just totally collapsed on us. And I mean, we could have lost everything because we're in Chapter 11. Chapter 11, how far away are we from Chapter 7 total liquidation? Just a stone throws away. But I always said, if anybody's going to come out of it, it's going to be Voyager. Celsius, they're going to come out of it, but it's not looking pretty. And we'll get into that in a second. So here's what happened. And before I start, there's always been this talk about the last 2 days about how FTX paid $50 million. I kept seeing $50 million. I was like, what the heck? How can you pay $50 million when the total cash was $104 million? The total crypto loaned, excluding 3AC, was $470 million. Total crypto held was $685 million. So you had like $1.2 billion. And I kept seeing $50 million. Well, now it all makes sense. Here's what's really going on. Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX US, the US version, is effectively bailing out Voyager Digital Exchange investors. 1.31 billion of crypto holdings were stuck in bankruptcy proceedings. And of course, this document that I just showed you, this was over a month and a half ago. And so it says subject to change over time. Because remember, the assets, the total crypto held in a dollar value amount, of course, that went down. They went into Chapter 11 on July 5th. So of course, July 5th to September, whatever the day is, what is the day? 20, whatever. Of course, it's going to go down. So it's a little bit easier to do those things and fill those holes, as it were. So the U.S. unit of FTX will pay Voyager $1.42 billion, an 8% premium to the market value of the assets, and then turn the crypto over to investors through new accounts at FTX US that will offer them incentives to remain. And that's a big thing. Incentives to remain. The question that I have is, first of all, I get, if you want to buy a bunch of crypto, at a fair market value price, great, go ahead and do that. Sure. You can do it over the counter. You can do whatever you want to. Okay. But the whole question I was saying, why even do that through Voyager? Why don't you just let that dissolve and then just let everything go away and go, hey, if you got one exchange, it's right here, FTX and FTX US. But Sam did a good move, a total great PR. And my question to you is, would you trust him now? Would you trust what you had in Voyager as it comes over here to say, you know what, this guy bailed out Voyager, and I don't know if he's going to make it whole. That's a topic for another video, but it's moving in the right direction. Would you trust him to continue to use that exchange? Or would you just go, give me all my stuff and let me go to Cracker Barrel, whatever exchange you use? So that is what's going on. And they state, we will establish a direct relationship with the customer, a spokesman from FTX. The money will effectively go to the customers as opposed to the company management. Again, this incentives to remain. The incentives to remain. The big question for me is, for the VGX token that people hold or have held, will they roll it over into the FTX crypto? Will they keep it the same? Will they just have you cash out? Or will there be like some kind of loyalty program? Time will tell. But I mean, it's definitely a step where I want to see things going. Voyager claimed 3.5 million customers before the company filed for bankruptcy in early July. That's a lot of people. And I got to tell you, I love that app. That app was so easy to use, so simple, could set up, limit orders, could DCA. I mean, just, it was the smoothest interface I've seen so far. And I mean, even FTX, I have to use it now. It's not near as great as Voyager's was. I'm just saying. However, I do have a lot more money now. FTX's US bid, which is significantly better for customers than its original bid, was chosen because it maximizes the value returned to you, us, in the shortest time, Voyager said. The purchase agreement between FTX US and Voyager will be presented to the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of New York on October 19th. So we still got a ways to go, 2 or 3 weeks or so. But from what I see, it'll be subject to a creditor vote. According to Voyager's announcement, it will go through. So the big question I have is this. Again, Sam Bankman stepped in, and I'm not saying that he's the great savior of all time. Remember, he's still getting a great deal. Would you stick around with FTX? Would you use them, or would you just say, swipe, I'm out of here, and off I go? Because, I mean, it's looking like Sam Bankman is going to be the Jeff Bezos of crypto as he just buys up everything that just collapses around him. And speaking of such things, here's some other good news. Alex Masinsky had resigned. I will just say this. Did you see Steve Ehrlich from Voyager popping into Twitter Spaces or talking anywhere on Twitter or doing anything? No, he kept his mouth shut behind the scenes and let things unfold like a CEO is supposed to do when you go in Chapter 11. You should not be out there talking and incriminating yourself. Just asinine. So here was Alex Masinsky doing all these things. I was involved in the last Twitter Spaces it was. It was me, him, and Simon Dixon, and they were going back and forth. I was there to learn about the different things that different community members had talked about. I'll get to that in a second. But I'm telling you, this is a good move. This is a good move for him, and it's a good move for us because, let's be honest, that company was going down. If he stuck around, there's not a snowball's chance in hell it would have came back. Celsius CEO resigns. It's not a big story. I mean, it's long. I'll just make it very simple. He's done. Masinsky's resignation is effective immediately. There's no beating around the bush. But he said in a release that he will continue to help the company provide creditors with the best outcome. I have no idea how he's going to do that. It's not like the management style was that fantastic. I regret that my continued role as CEO has become an increasing distraction, and I'm very sorry about the difficult financial circumstances members of our community are facing, which doesn't do anybody good if all their money is still stuck in Celsius. Since the pause, I have worked tirelessly to help the company and its advisors put forward a viable plan for the company to return coins to creditors in the fairest and most efficient way. I mean, I know he's working behind the scenes. I don't know about that. After the announcement was made, the company's crypto, the CEL token, dropped more than 7% in value, according to CoinMarketCap. And we can take a look here. There was a drop. But that last Twitter Spaces where it was me and Simon Dixon, and there was a little bit of, I guess there was a little problem with communication between me and Simon and Azad, his assistant, because I was asked to go in there. It was the Celsius short squeeze people, and they were talking about this great plan. They were the ones that originally had talked about using the Celsius Bitcoin mining operation and then giving equity into that. I thought that was a good idea, so I agreed to sit there and listen. I asked Simon Dixon to come on. Simon Dixon came on. All of a sudden, here comes Alex Mashinsky from nowhere out of left field. In chapter 11, the CEO starts spouting off his mouth in this Twitter space. I couldn't believe it. And it was insane. That's really what it comes down to. And I will just say this about these Celsius short squeezers, because on June 22nd, correct me in the comment section, 21st, 22nd is when, no, excuse me. It was June 12th when the withdrawals stopped for Celsius. So that's all the way back here, somewhere around here. Price was 81 cents or something like that. 67, geez, wasn't even that good. 37 cents. Okay. So there was this big hubbub about how, well, this was just caused by these whales and there was some FUD and we're going to squeeze them. We're going to do a short squeeze. And it looks like they did. It looks like the short squeeze community did all that and they squeezed them. And they keep talking about hold on and hold that Celsius token because we're going to squeeze them again and da-da-da. Here's my question. The biggest individual that owns most of the Celsius tokens, or at least a very, very large portion of it, is Alex Mashinsky. So as you push up the price for this, and there's been different documentation of him selling these tokens, who are you helping for this Celsius short squeeze? I don't understand. If you already did the short squeeze back here, do you just want to keep doing it again and again? I mean, are you really short squeezing these whales? I just don't get it. And correct me in the comments. I just don't find it viable option right now. Get rid of Celsius, let that coin collapse, move forward with whatever the plan is. And also there is the Celsius Creditors Committee. There is a YouTube special coming up. Let me get this. It is tomorrow at 10 a.m. I will tweet this out as soon as I get more information, and they're going to answer a bunch of questions, which is what is the exclusivity? Has there been any plans put forward? And what is the proper steps? So let everybody know I don't care about people when they tell me, oh, well, this is going, that's going on. Let me talk to the committee and we'll go from there. That'll be tomorrow. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comment section. Now let's go into a little more good news. Whoops, that's not good news. Robinhood. So just real quick, Robinhood, they just sent out a tweet this morning. Talks about a wallet worth the wait. Beta testing is now live for 10K customers from the wait list with Polygon as the first blockchain support. As you can see in this video, what they're going to be allowing to do is all different types of crypto. Uniswap, Wrapped Bitcoin, Wrapped Ether, Wrapped Matic, Compound, Polygon, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to be able to buy and sell, and you can swap with no network fees, no fees. So I thought that's pretty good. It's great that they chose Polygon because I own Polygon and I'm super biased about what I talk about. But I'm glad this is moving a step in the right direction for Robinhood. But just because it's Robinhood and there's no fees, everybody don't get too excited. There's a great video. This was from The Problem with Jon Stewart. Link in the description. It's the Jon Stewart special about Robinhood and Citadel and companies and stock exchanges and dark order books and things like that and how things are manipulated. And I'll just have you watch it because it was a very eye-opening experience. Let me know what you think about all that in the comments section. And before we move on to the bad news, so we've had a lot of good news today, right? Good stuff, great stuff. Voyager got out of the auction. Celsius auction stepped down. We got Robinhood coming forward. Who knows what else that I missed? It's good stuff. So what does that mean for the price of crypto and how things are doing? That went down. So 966 billion market cap. Bitcoin's down. Ethereum's down. Tether USD coin is up because people are going into Tether and USD. I'm not a big fan of Tether, but whatever. And here we are. And how is the traditional market doing? Well, it's also down. I know there was talk about decoupling today because there was a little bit of a pump because of the good news, but maybe not. However, with NASDAQ, it is up a little bit. So I guess it is a little uncorrelated, but not in the way we'd like to see. So it doesn't matter some days about how great the news is. It's when we're in a bear market, it's like everybody ignores the good news and just focuses on the negative. And then when we're in a bull market, everybody seems to ignore the warning signs and just think it's going to go to the moon. So just one of those lessons just to be aware of. So that would lead me to the bad stuff. I'm going to go over this very quickly because I don't want to punch you in the mouth too hard about what's going on. Just a little gentle knock, which is, okay, Nexo. So the DFPI joins other state security regulators to bring actions against Nexo. This is what's going on in a nutshell. The California Department of Financial Protection, DFPI, announced today it has joined 7 state security regulators to bring actions against the Nexo Group. This was on September 26th. In connection with its interest product accounts, which is the same thing that Voyager did, same thing that Celsius had. I'm not saying did, but had. These earn accounts. Why is it? Unregulated securities. The DFPI Commissioner Clothild Hewlett nailed it. States these crypto interest accounts are securities and are subject to investor protections in the law, including adequate disclosures of the risk involved. Collectively, these actions protect investors while ensuring that California remains an ideal setting for responsible financial innovation. And this is where I didn't know this is this high. Nexo offered annual interest rates of up to 36%. Is that true? That seems kind of ridiculous. On investors' deposited crypto assets, which are significantly higher than rates for short-term investment grade fixed income securities or banks. Well, yeah, that's exactly true. So just so you know, that'll be another legal battle coming forth. That's not good. Also, if you're in the U.S., IRS is stepping up efforts to target U.S. taxpayers who failed to report and pay tax on crypto transactions. No, you cannot get away with, I dropped it. I was in a boating accident. My ledger just flipped up. It doesn't work like that. You can only claim $3,000 of losses anyhow. So just be aware that you might get this thing called a John Doe summons. And it's starting small. The agency, the FBI, the IRS, will issue a so-called John Doe summons requiring NY Safra Bank to turn over crypto transactions data for SVOX, a digital currency prime broker that used the bank with more than 175,000 users and over 12 billion in transaction. It's not the first IRS summons, but it's unusual because the broker seems to be quite small, signaling the possibility of more to come, which is a pretty smart move. You start small. It's like in business. You do a soft open for a business, just see how things are going, tweak things, and then really go heavy. That's kind of what the IRS is probably going to do. It's not the, oh yeah. And this is from Andrew Gordon, tax attorney, CPA, President Gordon Law. He states, it's not the first IRS summons for crypto records, but it's unusual because the broker seems to be quite small, signaling possibly more to come. And he does state that the IRS has indicated this is a very high priority for them. And you better believe it. But on the flip side, it is kind of good news, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because people sometimes they talk about, hey, crypto might just go to zero. No, it's not. There's too much money sloshing around. The government does not want you sitting on your money in a bank account where they can't tax it. They want you to spend it. They want you to do investments. Because you know what's great for that? Capital gains tax, especially if you're in New York and California. Not so much Texas, but the federal taxes for capital gains, 20% short-term and up to 43% on short-term capital gains. Long-term is 20%. So, of course, they want you to spend so they can tax. That's just how it goes. And here is the article if you wanted to go through it. It's quite boring. Trust me, I read it. And then also, don't forget that even though we have good news and things are going great in the crypto markets and people are actually starting to build, the prices don't really add up because the Fed hasn't pivoted. We've got different problems with the IRS trying to crack down, DFPI, and also the macro events such as Nord Stream pipeline. Germany suspects sabotage hit Russia's Nord Stream pipelines. Who sabotaged it? I'm not going to speculate. I'm just going to read you the news. Denmark steps up security after unprecedented damages to links. European gas prices rise as much as 12% on Tuesday. And what it's looking like is this Nord Stream pipeline is going to be shut down, which is going to be a big, gigantic disaster for as far as gas prices and exportation of gas to Germany and other places, and it's going to drive up the prices of gas and electricity even higher. So that is a macro event that is happening all over Europe, and I think it's only going to get worse. And then we're also taking a look at layoffs. Goldman Sachs begins layoffs, targeting mid-level bankers report. Not as many as you would think, and I'm not even going to read it because it just really goes. Here's what it says in a nutshell. They're laying off bankers, mid-level bankers. It's not that many. Usually they do 1 to 2% per year for individuals who are low performers. They stopped that after the coronavirus because there was just such a big boom not in productivity, but in quantitative easing as everybody's printing money. And now it's back to that same level, 1 to 2%. So it's just one of those things where I think unemployment's going to start to raise up. That could be actually good news for the Fed. Maybe they can pivot. And then lastly, don't forget, it's not a good picture. Congress is still corrupt. And I'd been talking about this, about how in the United States, members of Congress, Senate, House of Representatives, they can sit on economic committees. They can get inside information, and then they can trade on their stocks. And we just talked about this, about various members, Nancy Pelosi being the most famous, how they are using this information and they are profiting greatly over all the inside information they have. And all there is a $200 slap on the wrist if they get caught. Nobody ever gets caught. So they put out this new bill, and this was like a month ago, and I said, this won't pass. And guess what? It's not. Lawmakers, judges, and other government officials covered by the ban will have to choose between divesting their investment portfolios or putting their assets in a qualified blind trust. That's if it went through. The House leadership doesn't currently have the votes to pass the bill, given the number of rank and file Democrats who are actively opposed, because why would you give up that gravy train? So there's a question of whether the bill can even come to the floor. That's not great news, but that's just the reality, folks. I'm sorry. Your members of Congress are super, super corrupt, and they're trying to screw you over and, of course, make massive gains at your expense. Sorry. That's just how it is. Whew. Well, that was negative, Rob. You had a point. So let's bring it back. What would Wallet 3 do? WW3D. If you're not familiar with Wallet 3, if you go to bitinfocharts.com and you look at the, as it's called, the Bitcoin rich list, wallet number 3 has been around for years and years and years. They just transferred over to another wallet, but you can find it. Links in the description. And what I find notable about this is how wallet number 3, they accumulate until about the right time when they're like, you know what, this is the great time to sell. And the last time they sold was on September 12th. And you know what the price was? Almost, for the range was pretty good. It was one of the highest, 22,334. So pretty much at the, I can't say the top of the channel, but the top for quite some time in this crappy bear market. And they sold 1,000 Bitcoin. And now what are they doing? Just accumulating. They sold 1,000 Bitcoin here. September 16th, they bought 1,200. September 19th, 81. September 19th again, 845. And 351, 241. So when I have a bad day and I see there's some good news, but I'm like, man, so much bad stuff around here. What would Wallet 3 do? WW3D. You know what they do? Dollar cost average, take profits along the way, which is kind of like my rules below me. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Everything's a scam until proven otherwise. Don't leave anything on exchanges. Take it off, put it on your ledger. Don't use leverage. It's a recipe for disaster. And take profits. And that's it. So look, that went a little bit long for the news, but I hadn't been here for 3 days and I want to talk to everybody. So I got excited. But that's it for today. So look, if you got to take off, get out of here. You've been here for 23 minutes. I appreciate your time. If you want to stick around, we'll do a little Q&A. I'll answer all your burning questions to the best of my abilities, and we'll go from there. If not, take off. Thanks for stopping by. Hit the like and subscribe on the way out, all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next one. Now, let's get to the Q&A.